Hello everyone, this is Roman. I'm just doing the second part of the comparison of 2017 Volkswagen Tiguan Limited to 2018 Subaru Forester 2.5i naturally aspired engine. So the last video I forgot to mention the gas mileage. So the gas mileage for the Volkswagen Tiguan it's not a gas guzzler, but it's not really good gas mileage. It only gets 20 in the city and 26 on the highway, versus the Subaru Forester. It's a 2018 Subaru Forester. It gets 25 in the city and 34 on the freeway, so it's about 6 to 7 miles per gallon difference. That's a huge difference between the two cars, even though they're same size. And even though the Forester has a bigger motor, it's a 2.5 liter motor, 4-cylinder, and the Tiguan is only a 2.0 turbocharged motor. So the difference in gas mileage is actually significant. 7 miles per gallon, that's a lot, especially if you're driving in a long trip. So it seems like the Tiguan is heavier, because as we know, the German cars are usually heavier. It seems like it has a faster acceleration, like in the long run, because it is a turbocharged model and it has 25 more horsepower than the Forester. This limited Tiguan has 200 horsepower, and the Subaru Forester only has 175 horsepower, 2.5 liter. But still, it seems to me as if the Subaru Forester accelerates a little faster, because it's a symmetrical all-wheel drive where all the wheels take off at the same time, and it's a lighter car because of the lighter material, aluminum alloy that Japanese use. It accelerates faster a little bit just from the start. I think it's also because of the Volkswagen Tiguan has also a turbo lag, which a lot of people complained about. So from the dead start, when you're trying to accelerate the car, there's a turbo lag, and that's a lot of people actually complain online about that. So it seems like the Tiguan is a little faster in the long run because it has more power and it has a turbocharger. But the Forester is naturally aspired engine and it has less power, but it seems like it accelerates a little bit faster just from the dead start. Then again, let's just recap. So as I think I mentioned before, the Volkswagen Tiguan also handles better, especially when you're going around the corners or passing cars or changing lanes, because of it's more aerodynamic. The Subaru Forester kind of has more body roll because it sits higher. Like just the cabin, it's not as aerodynamic as the Tiguan. So the Tiguan handles more like a car, but the Forester also handles like a car. They both handle more like a car and not like a truck or an SUV. It's just that I noticed that the Forester has a body roll. So what I did was I changed out the wheels, because it comes with 17 by 7 inch wheels, and I bought 17 by 8, so which means it's 1 inch wider. Each wheel is 1 inch wider. So after I did that, and I also got these, they're called lightweight racing wheels. They're Japanese wheels. For those who don't know, but so I guess when you're accelerating and your wheels is heavy, or I should say, like, not just wheels, but yeah, the tires and the rims, the metal part. If you buy a lighter wheel, let's say you're 10 pounds lighter than the factory wheels, then your car is going to accelerate about 0.3 to half a second faster. Somewhere in between 0.3 seconds and half a second. You might say that this is not really much difference, but in the racing world, it's a huge difference. For example, half a second is a lot. That's like going 0 to 60. It's about maybe like 2 car lengths of difference, or maybe more. So it's half a second is actually a big difference. as far as acceleration goes from 0 to 60. So once I did that, I replaced the wheels and put the Yankee lightweight wheels. They don't look that good. They just look very simple because they're actually like a rally racing wheels, but they're very light. I did notice that my acceleration improved and my gas mileage improved, but especially my acceleration from the dead start really improved. So it does work. So if you want to spend maybe like $1,000 to $2,000, because you also have to buy probably new tires sometimes, I would definitely recommend, if you care about acceleration, I would definitely recommend replacing your wheels and just looking for the lightest wheels possible for your car. And all the manufacturers, they always tell you how light the wheels are when you go to buy them on their website. So that's you could definitely do that and improve your acceleration. And also that has less strain on your transmission and on your engine. If it's easier for the engine to accelerate your vehicle, the transmission doesn't get much strain, or I should say less strain, and the engine is the same. So it's your engine and transmission might last longer, but your acceleration will definitely improve. So that's what I did. After I did that, my handling on the Subaru Forester improved. So now it's about the same as the Tiguan, as far as the handling. So the quick recap from the both videos is that the Tiguan requires special tools that I guess I went to Advanced Auto Parts, or like Advanced Auto Parts, or there's like also like Auto Parts, and I had to buy a special tool just to replace my air filter. Because those little screws they use in the Volkswagen, you can't take them off. It's like a special star key, and it was $10. Now it might be more. This was years ago. So definitely German cars need special tools to work on them. So if you don't have those tools, you cannot do anything. You cannot take off your wheel if you have a flat. You cannot replace your air filter if it gets dirty. You can't do anything at all besides just check the engine oil and add more oil. That's all you could do on these cars. Like you can add the fluids into the vehicle, but as far as taking something off, you won't be able to do it because they all use special German tools. So that's a downside. Again, the windshield wipers on the Volkswagen, you cannot raise them if there's a snowstorm coming, so that way your windshield wiper blades with the rubber part doesn't get stuck and iced up to your windshield and get ruined, because that's how they get ruined. Then you can't do that on the Volkswagen. Well, on the Subaru, you could just raise them and keep the wiper blades just off your windshield when it's icy. Then there's also, I noticed the Volkswagen, just the exterior of the metal is a lot tougher than the Subaru or Japanese cars. Well, at least I'm not sure what the luxury Japanese cars, but the regular cars like Subaru, Honda, Toyota, the metal that they use, actually, if you push on it, it caves in because it's probably aluminum and some of it's plastic, but mostly aluminum, so make it lighter for better gas mileage. On the Volkswagen and all the German cars, if you push on the metal, like on your door or on your fender, it's not going to give because it's really like heavier steel and it's more durable. You know, for an accident, it's better. Also, I hate the fact I already mentioned that the battery goes dead on the Volkswagen if you don't drive it for a week and it sits in the cold, because there's a lot of electronics that German cars have. It drains the battery. Whereas in Japanese car, there's not that much electronics, so the battery lasts longer because there's not that much electronics that are hooked up to the battery. So that's another downside that I hate. Also, the maintenance seems to be almost doubled of the Subaru. Like the windshield wiper blades, just the rubber parts, I had to replace them. They're about $80, and then my Subaru Forester, they're only $30. That's it for a pair. So that's a huge difference. Um, yeah, that's a huge difference. The trunk of the Volkswagen, it's a lot smaller. It's about like half the size, but the car is obviously shorter than the Subaru Forester. So the Forester has a lot more luggage, a lot more room in the back to put stuff on your hatch. Let me see what else did I miss. Yeah, so the gas mileage I already mentioned, that's a big thing. Also, the fact that there's a turbocharger on the Volkswagen it requires special oil, a thicker oil that I already mentioned before. The oil is double price of regular oil, so you're gonna pay more for the oil because it needs thicker oil for the supercharger to protect the engine because the engine runs hotter. Yeah, so the oil is more expensive. Also, it requires premium gas. It requires 92 or higher for the Volkswagen Tiguan. Most German cars require a very expensive gas. The premium or super, whatever you want to call it, it's like 92 or above, 92, 93, 94. The Subaru Forester requires just a regular gas, like 87, the cheapest one. I'm not saying that's good for your car, but for those people who want to save money and don't believe into buying expensive gas, you could put cheap gas in most Japanese cars and it's fine. Of course you'll get less performance. Your car is not going to accelerate as well because there's less octane, but you're going to save a little bit of money. On the German cars, it requires premium gas, so that's another flaw in the Volkswagen, another issue. You have to use premium gas. And also, this engine button already went bad, and we don't drive the car that much. The engine button went bad. We have to replace it, which is kind of weird. So the Subaru Forester never had any problems, and it has twice as many miles than the Volkswagen has. So, like I said, the battery already died a few times. I checked the battery was fine. It's just that because there's electronics draining the battery that are always on. Like, for example, when you don't need to press the key fob to open your door on a German car, that drains the battery. On the Subaru, it doesn't. On my friend's Lexus and on my Subaru, the car sat there for 2 weeks without driving, and it starts right up because there's not much electronics that are draining the battery. Again, so that's another issue with the Volkswagen. The plus is on the Volkswagen it's more soundproof and you don't feel the speed, especially when you're driving on a highway. Let's say if you're doing 80 miles an hour, it feels like you're going 50. In my Subaru, I feel if I'm going 65 or 80, it feels like you're going 65 or 80. You feel like the road a little more and the noise. One thing I want to mention about the Subaru is that they have tougher suspension because it's like more made for off-road. So when you're going over bumps and potholes, then it's definitely tougher on bad roads because the German cars were actually made for Autobahn. They were made for German roads, and they were not made for American roads with all these potholes. So every time like I hit a pothole or like a speed bump going slow, it seems like the shocks are they're making like a hissing sound because my guess they're not really made for these type of roads. But when I go on the same roads with my Subaru Forester, it doesn't phase the car. It's really tough. The suspension is tough. So I would not ever buy a Volkswagen for myself or any German car for that matter. I would only stick to Japanese cars because they're more reliable and they're just less expensive to maintain, and you could actually just use regular tools like your metric tools, like screwdrivers, flat, Phillips, regular wrenches, just the same ones you use to work at home, like on your plumbing or like locksmith use, just regular tools you use, metric system. Whereas German cars, they don't use metric system. They use different tools from Germany. I'm not even sure what they're called, but they all have special tools. So if you're looking to work on your car and it's a German car, you're gonna have to buy a whole different set of tools than versus a Japanese car. If you just buy metric tools and Home Depot, you're fine. So it's just more practical. If my battery goes dead, for example, I could just take a wrench and take out the battery from my Subaru and take it to the auto shop and just buy a new battery and put it in myself. Or if I need to change my air filter, I'll just use a screwdriver and a ratchet or a wrench and just take out my air filter from the air box, and that's it for my Subaru. On a Volkswagen, I can't do that. I need special tools. And those tools, I have to go to specialty auto stores and even find out if they have them. Sometimes they don't have them. So that's the problem. So in German cars, when you buy a German car, it creates more problems. You have more issues, and you're gonna be going to the dealer more often because the way they're made is with these special tools, special parts. The parts are more expensive. The labor is way more expensive. It's like double priced. And another thing I mentioned in my last video is that they have diagnostic. Anytime something goes bad in your German car, they have to connect a computer and do a diagnostic, which is like almost $300. In my Subaru, it doesn't need a diagnostic test. It just, because there's not that many electronics in that car. So yeah, so that's what my review is. I would definitely go with a Subaru over a Volkswagen any time of the day, or any German car for that reason. I'm not hating on German cars. I just don't feel like they're worth spending extra money, especially if you get into like luxury cars like Audi, BMW. You're gonna pay $20,000 more for the same type of car that you could buy from Toyota or Subaru for half the price. So yeah, you're right, it might not be as comfortable, and you're gonna hear more road noise and feel the speed more, but hey, I mean, you're saving $20,000. Even the Volkswagen, they're actually like $3,000-$4,000 more expensive than a Japanese car, especially if you only get the car with the all-wheel drive. Compared to Subaru, you're going to spend $4,000 more to get the all-wheel drive on your Volkswagen, because like Subarus come with all-wheel drive as a standard from the factory, so you don't have to pay extra. All the other manufacturers, they're for some reason charging you like $3,000-$4,000 more, $3,000 to $5,000 more, like all of them. Toyota, BMW, Audi, they all charge you more. I think Mazda as well, and Honda, they charge you more. So the only thing about Subaru is that they had a lot of engine problems. There's like head gaskets blowing, and so engines, there's a lot of recalls that they have compared to like Toyota and other Japanese cars. It's just, I think is the way people drive them. It's not only that, there is definitely defect in the motors of Subaru more than on any Japanese car. But hey, if you buy a new car, you have warranty, so that they'll fix it for free. So like Subaru is like number 4, number 5 on reliability. So it goes as far as number 1 is Lexus reliability, then it's Toyota, and then it's Mazda, and then it's Honda and Acura, and then it's Subaru. So Subaru is like almost on the last place as far as reliability goes from Japanese cars, just due to these recalls on the engines. But it looks like on the new cars, they actually worked out all those problems. And keep in mind that a lot of people, they don't change the oil on time, and they drive these cars like a maniac. So when you're doing that to your car, things are gonna go bad. Okay, I had 3 Subarus, and I drove them. One of them I drove sometimes really hard, and they had like 90,000 miles. I never had any problems with the engine or any gaskets or anything. But I always used a special oil, like synthetic oil, and I changed it on time, and I took care of the car. So, and I only drove it hard like sometimes. and I never redlined the car. So whenever you start redlining your car, like bringing your RPMs into redline, then there's a chance of engine going bad. So I never actually bring my redline the gauge to the close to the red line. I always keep it like 1 RPM away from the red line if it's a manual transmission vehicle. But other people, maybe they don't pay attention. So I think it has to do something in the way people drive them. And also, if you buy a used vehicle, you don't know what the person did to the car. So if the car already has been abused and they haven't changed the oil like frequently like they're supposed to, and then you buy that car and they change the oil right before they sell it to you, guess what? You're going to be stuck with a car that's going to break down because the car has already been beaten to hell. Also, these Subarus that blow the engines is usually these sports, like it's a WRX or WRX STI. It's usually these sports models, that's rally cars. And people that buy them, they drive them really hard. And of course, if you drive them really hard and you don't change the oil on time, or you just don't do your regular maintenance and you keep driving the piss out of it, then the car might break down after the second owner buys it, or third or fourth, because it's a sports car. You should never buy a used sports car because people drive it hard. If you're gonna buy a sports car, you should finance a new one, and just take care of it, and it will take care of you. And that's what the problem is with these Subarus, I think, that had bad. They did have defects in the vehicles, but it seems like from the research that I did for the past 24 years, is that the people that took care of the cars, even though that model had a defect, those people that did not drive the car hard and took care of their Subaru, it never had a problem. So Subaru is not one of the most reliable brands out of the Japanese cars like Toyota or Honda or Mazda, but it's definitely more reliable and much better buy than a Volkswagen or a German car. It definitely lasts. It definitely has less problems and it's more reliable than German car. It seems like the new German cars are actually a lot less reliable because they use plastic. The hoses that they use in the engines are not metal, they're actually plastic now. So they crack like within 3 years, right after your warranty is over. So it seems like the Japanese cars are still more reliable. So I would definitely choose Subaru Forester over Tiguan, just by reliability and from personal experience. But that's just my opinion. We could all disagree. Or agree. Like I said, we had this Tiguan and it only has 22,000 miles. Already had the ignition button replaced. The battery dies often if the car is not driven for 1 week. And the Subaru Forester never had a problem. It has almost 40,000 miles, almost twice as many miles, and never had a problem. And I just changed the oil and I changed the differential fluid, and that's it. That's all I did. So it never has a problem. So I guess it's reliable. They did send me a letter that there's a transmission recalls. So the Subaru gave me extended the warranty for free to 100,000 miles for the transmission. I think that's pretty good. So, and I never had any problems with my transmission, and I have warranty until 100,000 miles. So it's not a big deal. So like I said, when you buy a new car, you have a warranty. So even if there's defect from the factory, you could just fix it for free. And once your warranty is about to expire, you can sell your car or trade it in if you're afraid that it's going to have that defect or recall. Then you could just trade it in and get a new car, or just sell it privately and get like half the money back for that car if you're afraid that defect or the recall is going to happen after your warranty has run out. So that's what I would do. But enough of me rambling on. Thank you for watching my video. I hope this helps for people who are looking into Volkswagen and Subaru. Have a good day and stay safe.